to my channel. Once again, it's me, your bearded bro QuickSilver 15, back with another video, and today we'll be reviewing probably the biggest chapter in this series slash movie title. And of course, we're talking about none other than John Wick, no fancy title, Chapter 4. It stars, of course, the legendary Keanu Reeves, and of course a host of just a star-studded cast. Yeah, we pick up like, I don't know, maybe a few months or years after the events of the third John Wick movie. And I say that because, of course, if you've seen the third film, or if you've not, spoilers, he falls off a roof and a roof of a freaking tall hotel building. So someone doesn't just recover from that. So I would say it's been at least a year or a few months, maybe like 3-6 months after the events of the third movie, and we pick up from there. We see John Wick preparing to go to war with the quote-unquote high table of their universe. So overall, if you haven't seen it, just go see it. The movie is great. It is action-packed, what you would expect with a John Wick film. But in this one, the key difference from the rest of the John Wick film is it finally has a meaningful story. And a lot of the side characters actually are very endearing, and you want to cheer for all of them. And that's just something the previous John Wick movies weren't able to do. The first one was good. It actually just focuses on Keanu Reeves, John Wick, and his revenge path to revenge. Very simple movie, and it works. It works like that because it's just a man on a mission trying to get revenge for something precious that was taken from him. And the next two films were kind of lost because they were trying to establish this whole convoluted assassin network, which really wasn't established in the first film, and we were just kind of surprised to see that the crime boss has multi-layer level of crime bosses. Again, the very tippy top being the quote-unquote the high table. So in John Wick Chapter 4, we finally do get a lot of explanations on who and what the high table people are. We don't really get to see them yet, and we'll talk about that in the end part of this video, because by then we'll be talking a bit about the ending and some spoilers. But don't worry guys, the main bulk of this video is spoiler free. We won't try to spoil anything. But yeah, a lot of the side characters. We have, of course, Donnie Yen, who is Kane, and he is essentially a friend of John Wick. We have, of course, Bill Sicard as the main bad of this series, as the Marquis, something like that. But two of the most just lovable characters in this chapter is actually Akira, played by Rina Sawayama, and of course Shimazu, played by the legendary Hiroyuki Sanda. Which, of course, let me just get this out of the way. If you've played Cyberpunk and you've watched John Wick Chapter 4, you would probably agree that the same cast could be cast in like a Cyberpunk remake. I don't care if it's from the point of view of Silverhand or if it takes place in the actual timeline of the game. Just do it. John Wick, Keanu Reeves as Silverhand, Hiroyuki Sanda, as, I don't know, Saburo, Arasaka, of course, Akira as Hanako or something like that, along the lines of one of the Arasakas Of course, we have Lawrence Fishburne as maybe like Morgan Blackhand in the original Cyberpunk, or he could be Dexter Deshawn. You know, a lot of things that can happen. Really kind of the same vein anyways. Please make it happen. But back to the topic. Of course, we're talking about John Wick, and it's just super awesome. The action and the cinematography has just been taken crank up from the previous John Wicks. We have this amazing scene with where the camera transitions seamlessly into like just a regular camera angle, and then it slowly moves up into like a drone shot footage. And although it was almost overused, that I will have to say, I was almost dizzy from watching that scene, but it was an amazing just one take. Well, actually it was two takes, but you know, it was split into two parts of the same camera from the front view going up into like an aerial footage of this building, and it just follows John Wick as he just, you know, goes on his John Wicking murdering ways throughout the building, and it's awesome. Other characters, I mentioned Lawrence Fishburne. We do have Shamir Anderson as the tracker. He's the dude with the dog. And you know, with the previous John Wick movies, you just don't mess with the guy with the dog, you know? In part 3, I think it was Halle Berry. You know, you don't mess with her. The first one, it was John Wick. You don't mess with dogs in this series, and I love it. I love that fact. Of course, again, Donnie Yen being Kane, and again, a lot of the secondary side characters are just so much better than the last two John Wick films, and we do get a lot more background, specifically with Ian McShane, Winston's character. He does give off a line, probably explaining his relationship with John Wick, or not. Maybe it's just, you know, something he says. We'll talk about that again in the latter part of the video. But again, overall, the action, I do love the acting of Keanu Reeves. The acting in general in this film, the action scenes was very, you know, it's not grounded, but the action scenes were kind of very scrappy. It was very realistic, you know. If you watched like any like survival self-defense videos, it was a lot like that. You know, you see Keanu again, well, he does this in the previous films as well, but yeah, again, the acting choices for that was just amazing. He tries to, yeah, it looks weird, but when he holds his gun, it's always close to his body. He's trying to keep his figure small, so he's a smaller target. He, again, one of the amazing or unbelievable fantastical thing about this movie is his suit, which is just, you know, impervious to everything, which kind of doesn't make sense, you know. Well, it makes sense against bullets, but when you get hit by cars multiple times and fall off a building again, it would probably hurt, even if you are wearing a bulletproof silk suit. So, but still, if you see John Wick as just another comic book movie, which it kind of is, so you kind of really need to pull back in the suspension of disbelief when it comes to John Wick. And overall, I do love the scrappy, grounded fighting style that they do in this film, and it's very just fun to watch, and it looks so real and painful. You know, when you see him get hit, it looks painful, and in the next scene he just, you know, kind of shrugs it off, which is both funny and cool at the same time. Let's talk a bit about the villain, the Marquis, Bill Sicard, you know, Pennywise, the same actor as Pennywise. He's just such an imposing figure. You know, you see him in the first scene stand beside Ian McShane, and he's just, you know, towering over him, and it's just so cool. He is kind of intimidating, but then, you know, in the end part, he's kind of like a wuss, and yeah, I won't go over it, but yeah, he kind of just shows his true colors, and there is somewhat of an arc with him, and I think he is definitely one of the most interesting John Wick main bads for this particular movie. So overall, before we go to the spoiler part, I'll just give my overall rating for John Wick, which is around 8.5 to 9. It's really awesome, really good. Definitely better than the previous iterations of this movie, and you should definitely go watch it. If you're a John Wick fan, even if you haven't seen the first 3 films, I think you should go watch it. It's just such a spectacle. They push the boundaries of these sort of action type films. So definitely from one of my first memories of this type of just continuous action films, I think we can kind of homage it to Bruce Lee, but one movie that does stand out is again Raid Redemption, and we do see a lot of the previous cast members from Raid Redemption makes an appearance in John Wick 4, and it's just, you know, it's its own branch of action movie where it's just brawl after brawl, and it's just amazing. Again, I guess we can attribute this to like the old kung fu movies, but just cranked up a lot, and I would argue that John Wick is using gun fu. So it's a mixture of gunplay and kung fu, which is again awesome. I just really cannot get over the performance of Donnie Yen. And actually there's this one guy who Momansky and I thought as Cristiano Ronaldo but in a fat suit, but apparently not. So let me get back to you on who that particular character is.
A few moments later.
Yeah, I don't know. I checked the IMDb. I'm not sure who he is. But yeah, there was this one Russian mob boss who had this golden teeth that kind of resembled Cristiano Ronaldo in a fat suit. So we thought it was him. Probably not. He doesn't really appear in the credits. But again, kudos to the rest of the supporting cast. And they are just amazing. The stunt guys, the henchmen, they were all pretty cool. And go over this enough, but compared to the rest of the John Wick films, this is actually the film where the story starts to make sense. If you're still here in this part of the video and you haven't seen John Wick, feel free to pause and go watch it and then come back, because we're gonna talk a bit about the spoilers, the end credits, and what I think will happen to the future of this franchise. So stay tuned for that.
One eternity later.
So if you're still here, then you've probably seen John Wick and you're probably confused what happened in the end credits, or the end of this film. Of course, we do see Keanu Reeves or John Wick collapse in front of the chapel, and then followed up by a funeral, and then Winston, when asked by the Bowery King where he thinks John Wick is, heaven or hell, he answers, who knows? That gets me thinking that John is probably alive. So spoilers, I think, potential spoilers, but this is more a theoretical thing. But another nod to why he's probably alive is his dog seems to see someone in the distance, and he's trying to, you know, get away from the Bowery King. Not because he's a bad person, but you know, he's trying, probably seeing someone familiar. Who could that be other than John? So 2 points to John being alive, and the third key point to why he's probably alive. He fell off the Continental in the third movie and lived. We see Winston was just on top of the cathedral when he passed out. So what are the chances that Winston probably had the means to, you know, get him to the hospital, it seems very high. Also, Momonski does point out, and I did notice this as well, John Wick never really took like a critical hit in any vital organs. Sure, he probably lost a lot of blood, but probably not anything he hasn't lost in the previous movies. So, you know, that suit really helped him a lot probably in this film, because if he hadn't, then he probably would be dead. But again, I'm placing my bets that John Wick is alive. Also, let's talk about the end credit scenes and where I think the future of these films will pick up. Probably John Wick Chapter 5, we see Akira trying to exact her revenge against Kane. Okay, so hear me out. This will probably be the premise of the next film. So, Akira successfully kills Kane, and he is, from the high table's perspective, he should be untouchable. Also, John Wick should be untouchable. So nobody in the criminal underworld can't even look at them in a bad way anymore, or else they will suffer the wrath of the high table. So, two things. I think Akira is, you know, gonna be close to John Wick because, of course, John feels responsible for her, and he kind of did promise that he would kill Kane, but he didn't, so he would feel that it is on him why the high table is after her, and let's say she dies as well, or whatever. I don't know what happens to her, but you know, the important thing is this will prompt John to just, you know, try to protect her at least at the start, and we'll see him pit off against the high table, because I don't know, I don't believe that they would set up such an elaborate set of bad guys, the criminal masterminds of the underworld, the high table, and not show it to us. Come on, guys. Although, yeah, so I don't know, it's such a cool build-up to John Wick facing off against the high table, and I really doubt that they would end the movie, the franchise, without showing us, because that would be just, you know, if this is awesome with the marquee having the quote-unquote assets or the funds, the money, all the resources of the high table, but of course the marquee is, you know, he's very concerned of funds he uses. He kind of, well, we can't go over budget or something like that. He kind of thinks about the budget, but I think when the high table is on the case, when they are probably just more pissed off at John Wick and they have to go into the forefront into dealing with him, then just the gloves are finally fully off, and you know, we'll probably see $100 million bounty on John Wick, him versus the entire world, and that would be so freaking awesome. And we do see a lot of other characters that could potentially come back slash be a spin-off, maybe, I don't know, probably not. They're probably better off as side characters, but yeah, a lot of cool characters indeed. So with that said, have you guys seen John Wick? What do you think? Let us know down in the comments below. And once again, it's me, your bearded bro, QuickSilver 15, signing off. Peace.